Hi everyone, I'm back this week and I'd like to talk about assemblage, which is a process that artists use when you take found objects and you put them together to make something. So I brought two artists to share with you that do that. The first artist I brought is Joseph Cornell. He lived in New York City and did a lot of work in the 40s and 50s. And he would wander around bookshops and thrift stores and collect things that he was fascinated by, things that he loved. I'm not sure he knew what he was going to do with them at the time, but he just brought them home. So he took these little boxes and put his collections in them and made little scenes. What do you think is going on with this bird? It's kind of whimsical, playing with that wire. Maybe if it pulls on it, that thing will spin. And there's some newspaper clippings. And what do you think's in that jar? I can't tell. But he's made a little scene for you to think about. And it even appeared in an episode of The Simpsons. You can see it up in the top right-hand corner here. That's the same one we just saw. And these are all pictures of Joseph Cornell's shadow boxes. Here's another one he did called A Parrot for Juan Gris. And it was based on the painting in the upper right-hand corner. He saw that at a gallery and he was so fascinated by it. He started making these pieces. I think he made 14 or 15 with these birds in them, echoing little things from the painting that he was fascinated by. Can you see anything similar in there? It looks like the head of the bird is echoed in the center of the painting there, that white fluffy part. And the wood, I see wood in the painting and wood in this shadow box here. Lots of different things. Newspaper articles, wallpaper, maps. He put a lot of things together. Why do you think he put all those things in there? Here's another one he did. And it was about an actress and dancer. He was fascinated by certain people and did a lot of assemblages about them. And what's she doing? Looks a little like a dream. She's floating, attached by strings to something. Those are actual strings, and she pops out in the box there. This isn't flat. It's hard to tell from the picture. I think only Joseph Cornell knew what he was going to put together and why. Or maybe it just felt like those things went together. This one's called Untitled Pharmacy. It's got all these little jars. What do you see there? I see a butterfly wing and some sand and a shell. It's like a little cabinet of fascinations, things that you dream about. Somebody said it was medicine for the soul and the imagination. There's a shell in there. And this one has all kinds of little things in these boxes. Sometimes they were called memory boxes. Do you think maybe these little things in here are memories of Cornell's that he used to remind him of things and his childhood or different places? This is an American artist, Betty Saar. She lives in California and she's alive now, but she's in her 90s. Joseph Cornell is no longer with us. He died about 40 years ago, I think. But she also makes assemblages. They're a little different. This one is called The Legends of a Black Girl's Window. And she's used a window here, a real window frame, and put in a bunch of stuff about herself here. The skies and the sun and the moon and the stars were very important to her. And you see that a lot in her pieces. And the people in here, she said that those symbolize her parents. That means they stand for her parents. And the skeleton talks about her father, who died when she was young, and she never forgot that. And she uses a lot of different things to represent herself in here, and also her family and where she came from. She said that she is a combination of all her ancestors, all the family that came before her. So this is sort of a self-portrait. Here's another one she did called The Essence of Egypt. And sometimes these are just little fascinations. Just like Cornell, he did these things about things he was fascinated by. So in the 70s, there was a show that came to the museum in LA called The Treasures of Tutankhamun, which is King Tut. And so it's all about Egypt. And she collected all these little pictures and symbols and made them into an assemblage. She glued them all together in this box. And it tells a story about her fascination with Egypt. And this one is called Blackbird. And this one's much newer. It was done in the 2000s. And Betty Saar is an African American artist, and she talks about being African American a lot in her work. And here she's got, this is on an old chalkboard, and she has a picture of her aunt's third grade class there. And she's showing you that because she wants you to think about how African American people during slavery were forbidden to read or write, and they were taught in secrecy. So she wants you to know about that. And she's included these wooden blocks, right? These are toys for kids, but they weren't allowed to have them back then during the time she's talking about. So that she's telling you a lot of history in this piece. And just like Joseph Cornell, she loves to collect and arrange things. She goes around to thrift stores and antique stores and collects these things, and she doesn't know what she's going to do with them until she does. So we've seen assemblages from two different artists, Joseph Cornell and Betty Saar, talking about lots of different things. And now I'd like you to make your own assemblage. So it can be about anything, something that you're fascinated by, a dream. It doesn't have to make sense. If you don't want it to make sense, it could be just things that you think should go together. It could be something you're thinking about or a message you want to tell us. I did a little example, which I'll show you. So I've been thinking about my family who are in New Jersey, and I usually go there many times during the year to visit. And this year, because of COVID, we couldn't go there. So I made this little box that is some of my memories and some of the things that I think about there. It's got shells from the beach and little plastic animals from the boardwalk, and that's right by where I grew up. And train tickets and a little thing from a place I like to go. There's a drawing on the sides of the boardwalk and some more prizes that you get there. So this is a little memory box for me about something I'd like to be reminded of. Makes me feel good when I look in there. So all you need is a little box. This is just a little cardboard box I had. And you can use pictures, cutouts from magazines, things you drew, anything. I mean, there's shells in here, just little plastic animals, anything you've got around that you want to put in there. And if you don't have a box, you can make a little scene from a square piece of paper. You fold it in half again, and then you just cut a little slit here, right? So it's got two little feet. And then you slide that like that and glue it. And now you have a little sort of room that you could make a scene in. You could put things in here and glue things in here and put pictures on the back. So that's your solution if you don't have a box. So I can't wait to see what you come up with your dream boxes.